The Eternal Life of Goldman is an upcoming, wonderfully gorgeous platforming adventure game. Developer Weappy are not a crew that I am familiar with, but this title seems to be a step outside their usual wheelhouse as their portfolio consists of real-time strategy games. It's the art style and animations that will instantly grab your attention as you can see here, but I was interested to see if the gameplay holds up against its peers. They have just released a demo on Xbox, so let me break down everything I learned about this game in my roughly 2-hour playtime. If you want to support the channel, then please leave a like, subscribe and share with your friends. If you don't like it, then leave a thumbs down and let me know how I can be better for you. This demo was dropped during the Xbox Partner Preview on Thursday, March 26th, and I played it on Xbox Series X. The Eternal Life of Goldman plays like a pretty standard adventure platformer. Across the demo's runtime, I unlocked all the basic moves like a sprint, crouch, high jump, long jump, and so on. Where this title does differentiate itself is with the protagonist's cane. Goldman's cane is a central mechanic in this game. It has 3 customizable parts: the handle, the stem, and the tip. I found 1 handle and 2 stems in the demo on top of the starting attachments, which were 1 of each. What these different components of the cane do will vary drastically, but you can only have 1 of each of the 3 parts equipped at any time. The handle I discovered allowed Goldman to hang off objects as well as pull them. The 2 stems I found were both related to jumping. The first allowed a high jump and the second allowed me to activate special platforms to jump even higher. Now, what I'm really interested in is to see how the future attachments can revolutionize this gameplay. So far, it felt pretty by the book, but from the trailers I can see some wild things occurring and I wish we got to get hands-on with that in this demo. Abilities like the force field, one that stopped enemies in their tracks, one where it caused Goldman to shoot up into the sky at breakneck attack speed. Those all look great, but sadly were not something I could experience here. However, it does give me hope that the customizations that will become available during the full release will be worthwhile. The way to attack threats in this game is a Super Mario style jump, except this time you will need to pogo on your cane rather than just use your shoes. Holding down the X button when jumping causes you to bounce, but it's easier than a pogo from games like Hollow Knight or Silksong, as you will continue to bounce if you don't release the button input. This means you can navigate across platforms and also defeat enemies by just keeping this button held and moving the analog stick back and forward. Most enemies in the demo would die after 1 hit, except one enemy type towards the end that took 2 hits. I feel like this is what you want, as the focus should be and is on the platforming. Where the combat is more important is with the boss fights. There were 3 encounters in this demo that I would consider as being a boss or mini boss of sorts. While all of these were a fantastic visual spectacle, I didn't find any of them to be particularly challenging. I think it probably has to do with the fact that the demo restrains you with what cane upgrades you have access to, so your moveset is pretty basic. I don't feel like I ever had to learn a fight, it was immediately obvious what you had to do. This is the component of the game I hope gets better as you progress further, and I imagine it will given the later boss encounters we have seen in the trailers. Another reason I think it seems a little easier than others in the genre is because it is extremely generous with heals and checkpoints. The firebird you see on the screen sometimes in my B-roll signifies a checkpoint, and they are staggered pretty much before and after every platforming section as well as every boss encounter. This is the kind of ease I really like though, as it helps with the small wins and feelings of accomplishment you want to give the player, not to mention it being more accessible. I have no issue being spawned back into existence right next to the boss, but I didn't need to use it once because they were just too easy. I guess that's the difference I'm trying to portray here. Your health bar is 5 slots and the healing consumable heals 2 slots at a time, and you can hold 3 of them. I was finding enough that I never worried about healing, so combat is forgiving. I did find a health upgrade in the demo, which increased my bar by 1 at the end of a fun platforming section. I know I'm sounding down on the combat side of the game, and I am a little disappointed, but I really do think it is just down to the limited tools available to us in the demo. I'm really interested to see all the different cane upgrades because I can see the potential there. The main part of this game, as I keep alluding to, is the platforming. The platforming is remarkably better and I really enjoyed it. Although you do only have the simple moveset I described earlier, the way the environments are positioned are really fun to navigate. There was an island where there were living platforms and they would move with you when you jumped or crouched, which resulted in creating a puzzle-like atmosphere to go with your platforming. It got really challenging at some points as well, and there were several parts I had to try a handful of times. It feels snappy and intuitive, which creates an addictive loop to try and try again because you know what you need to do, you just need to be that little bit more precise. It does feel satisfying when you get through it, and that is a reward in itself. When I consider how fun I felt the platforming was now, I can't imagine how amazing it gets when you do get those other cane upgrades. Even though you unlock new movement abilities, this didn't feel like a Metroidvania, at least not in the demo experience. It felt linearly designed, branching out from a hub island, and honestly it looked like it had a pretty big scale. When the map opens up, there seems to be a lot of areas that presumably will be future levels. There is exploration though, and I found many treasures and coins, although I didn't know what to do with either. They must come into the gameplay later on. I also found plenty of cooking ingredients, but when I finally found the stove, it wasn't usable. I'm interested to see how the cooking system works, as I found a fair amount of ingredients in my short playtime. Then there are the collectibles. First are 12 toys, which I found one of, and it had its own backstory. I would imagine the others do too. Next are fragments of a stele, which seem to be broken pieces of a map. Lastly, there are several notes to find that give a bit of side story or world building for this mysterious world we find ourselves in. The biggest draw of this game is the visuals, and they never fail to impress. Every single environment is a sight to behold, and they have a fantastic use of foreground and background focus to give you an immersive feel with the things around you. On their website, the developers state, "The Eternal Life of Goldman is the result of years of work by people who love and appreciate the same cartoons, comics, and games that you do. Meticulously drawn, colored, and animated by hand using classic frame-by-frame techniques. Every place, every object, every character, every visual effect, everything is carefully planned and executed to the finest detail." It's easy for me to say that the years of work that they refer to are transparent for all to see. It was definitely worth the effort because I know this game is going to bring people in with how awesome it looks. The story for this title seems twofold. The overarching narrative is a mother speaking to her child who, for all intents and purposes, sounds like they are ill in hospital. Every now and then we get a break in the gameplay where these narrative beats take place and they are fully voice acted. The story being told is that of Goldman, and that is why it is twofold. The mother speaks about it in a fourth wall breaking style, then we get to live it by playing as Goldman himself. The world Goldman inhabits is full of mystery and fantastical beings. The whole premise is that he is called to this land to help the inhabitants combat a deity. The characters we meet in this demo are all wacky and full of personality. While I feel like I should be invested in this world and its characters, the mission we get in the demo is not that interesting. The requirement is to find 3 parts of a broken mythical train to get it working again and allow it to transport us to the land of the deity. This felt fetch questy and not necessarily something I enjoyed. However, because the characters have that personality and the world is shrouded in mystery, I am optimistic that the main quest will become more interesting after this initial mission. There is of course a real world narrative I explained earlier with the mother and her child, which I'm sure will help weave in some emotion to the story. I could also feel a focus on children generally in the stitching of this game. There is the real world child in the hospital listening to the story, the collectible toys you find as Goldman, even some of the notes and things you discover in the world relate to children potentially being the deities. I'm unsure of how this will all come together currently, but it does intrigue me to some degree. One final small complaint is that, from an accessibility standpoint, I thought the text was too small in dialogue. In the settings you can now increase the size of the subtitles, which is good, but when you are playing as Goldman, the character conversation text size cannot be increased. When you interact with a character, it brings up a screen where the speech goes back and forth like a text message screen, and I struggled to read some of these as it was really small, and considering how much of it there is, I would have appreciated a setting to increase its size. The Eternal Life of Goldman is a game that looks incredible but has relatively basic gameplay. However, having said that, I can see the huge potential for this to flourish into something special. I really enjoyed what the developers are doing with the cane to evolve the play, whether that be with movement, puzzle solving or combat. I just wish they showed off more of it in this demo. I like this setup for the world and its characters, and although I don't think the main quest is at its best in these opening hours, I can see the path forward into the mystery. I hope the full release offers more complex bosses and a patch to increase the text size of the characters character dialogue, but otherwise this title is shaping up quite nicely. I'm not as blown away as I thought I'd be from the trailers, but I'm still looking forward to playing the full release. The Eternal Life of Goldman releases sometime later this year for Xbox, PS5, Switch, and PC. Check the channel for more reviews, spoiler casts, and quick looks. My quick look for Echo Generation 2 has just gone up, and shortly I'll have my Life is Strange reunion review and spoiler cast. If you want to check out what's coming in April, then I have a video for that too. Let me know in the comments below if you will play the Eternal Life of Goldman, and for everything else, casual gamer, keep it here. Peace and love.